Hello. You never believe it.
Hey, it's the show of the week.
Hello. I feel like I'm giving a weather report. The clouds, they're still up there. Welcome back to the show of the week, where it is windy, and I am wearing flannel, and we are going to talk about a musical, but not Come From Away. Also, I promise, I am wearing flannel. It's under there. Yeah, don't want to ruin the streak. Oh, did I hit record? Okay. Come From Away is a beautiful show that is touring all over the place. I saw it in Denver. It was a wonderful production. It is kind of about September 11th, but is also about the triumph of the human spirit. And when it came out, it was by a writing duo that I had never heard of before, David Hein and Irene Sankoff. The two saw Come From Away all the way through, from inception to completion, pretty much. They interviewed residents of Gander. Like, this is the real deal. This is folk art storytelling. Folk art as in, you know, you go out, you find the story, you find the people, and then you document it, and you add your artistic spin to it so that the story resonates louder, prouder, and stronger than it would if it was just kind of like a first-person accounting. Come From Away is great. Hein and Sankoff wrote a beautiful piece. It won a ton of awards, and I knew I was gonna be here, and, you know, trees, so kind of feels like Come From Away. And so, well, here's the journey I went on. I was curious to find out, because I didn't know anything about this duo, if they had written anything else. So I did what I do all the time. I pulled up their Wikipedia page, and I found that they had written one other piece, My Mother's Lesbian Jewish Wiccan Wedding. With a title like that, I wanted to find out more. I've never heard about this show, and, you know, I love looking up shows that I've never heard about. So, Googled around a bit, found some YouTube promotional footage.
My mother's lesbian Jewish Wiccan wedding was nice. Not your typical wedding, it was out in a field, nobody threw rice. Did I mention it happened in Canada? Yes, things happen in Canada, but the fact of the matter is Canada's just like here.
David is in the show. It is also a folk story. It is about his mom and how after a divorce, I believe, she traveled to Canada to get married to her now wife. And I say I believe because, well, something interesting happened. I wanted to listen to it, and I always want to do shows for this that you can listen to as well. And so I started looking for the cast album. Not every show gets a cast album. It's kind of a privilege to have your show documented in that way, perhaps a different kind of folk history, to have the music set down and, you know, put into a recording. And at one point, there was a cast album for My Mother's Jewish Lesbian Wiccan Wedding. Lesbian Jewish Wiccan Wedding? That one. At one point, they did record it. I know this because I found a link that took me to Spotify, and I clicked it, and my Spotify opened up, and there were all the songs, and they were all grayed out. A lot of this from this point forward is speculation, but here's what I think happened. I think they recorded a cast album for this, and then Come From Away got pretty big, and as often happens, I think, in times like this, they wanted to take what really was their demo recording down. They wanted to remove it because they were still working on the piece. See, demo tapes are almost a thing of the past. They are a thing of the past nowadays. It used to be, right, you're working on a show and so you need to sell it to producers. And you can't just send them the sheet music. They're producers. They don't know how to read that. So you need to give them something that tries to recreate what this musical might sound like. And so for a long time, if you weren't just outright performing the pieces of the show in a room with a piano and the producer, you sent along a cassette tape. It was you, or maybe your friends, or maybe a couple actors you hired performing the show as it stood. The songs that were written, or maybe it was complete, but you were trying to paint an audio picture of the show that a producer might pick up. It was a demo of what the show might be, a demo tape. Old demo tapes are a relic. They are where we get all these albums of like, oh, did you know that Good Fortune, Sir used to be a song that might have been in Into the Woods? And we know that because it exists on a demo tape. That's only how it used to be, though, because nowadays anyone can fire up GarageBand on their frickin' phone and record a studio quality, multi-tracked, fully produced album and upload it to iTunes or Spotify or wherever they want without going through all the hassle of recording it onto a cassette tape. And then while you're shopping that show around to a bunch of producers, why not put the tape up on the internet somewhere? Why not put your album on Spotify? You might make some money from it. You might drum up some interest in the show that you're trying to produce. You might get some feedback on it. There are 1,000 reasons why one might want to put a cast album online, because also you do a show at the Fringe Festival and you get a cast album of it, or maybe you self-record it beforehand, and that might be where the show ends, and so you want to document it there. But then that begs the question, what if that is not where the show ends? What if, let's say, you go on to write a very popular, award-winning, world-performed show, and now you're famous, and now you have more choice in what shows you want to produce and what shows you want to put out into the world. And you have sitting in your back pocket a very precious project that is very autobiographical, that's about a relative of yours, and maybe one day you want to turn that into something that might hit off-Broadway, or, you know, be performed in a regional theater. You want to keep revising that thing. But also you're famous now, so there's more scrutiny on the work you do, and so you want to take your rough draft back. You don't want it to be as public so that if you make changes, when you make changes, you have space to do so. You have the artistic freedom to modify a story in progress to turn it into something better. As far as I can figure, at least, that would be the reason to take an album off of Spotify. Maybe there's another reason. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe a license expired, I don't know. But I like to think it's that first reason, and I like to think one day my mother's Jewish, what was it? My mother's lesbian Jewish Wiccan wedding will be so popular that I won't have to stutter through the title anymore, that it'll just, you know, it'll be a household name. Until then, all we have are the ghost of an album on Spotify and a couple old marketing production clips from a Fringe Festival in 2009, and I hope that maybe we'll get that second cast album and I'll know what it'll sound like. Until then, I don't know. Listen to Come From Away. I'll see you next week.